Hey, Ryan Dahl here, back with another episode of PraiseCharts Live. I'm thinking, songs. There are so many great new songs being written these days. It's just like, and especially at PraiseCharts, we can barely keep up all the stuff from Elevation and Bethel and Passion and Hillsong and independent writers and Brandon Lake and Chris Tomlin. It's just like, how do we keep up with all these new songs? And then there are the hymns, like this classic repertoire of such great songs that also somehow want to find their way into the repertoire of us expressing our faith through song. So today, we're going to talk with Nathan Drake, who's basically dedicated his life right now in trying to make hymns relevant musically for our new generation of worship leaders. And he has a fantastic site called Reawakening Hymns. We're going to go there, talk to him. He's right down in his studio, talk about music, melodies, chords, lyrics, theology, songs for Lent, all these kind of things. And if you stay to the end, you'll find out about a great free resource that he's got available. We're going to talk about that too. So let's talk with Nathan Drake, the founder of Reawakening Hymns. There you are, Nathan. Your studio to my studio.
Yep. Yours looks much nicer than mine, by the way.
Oh, does it? Well, I think it's possible that you are down in the dungeon and I am on the main floor.
Yeah.
So...
Yes, I miss daylight. It's
Oh.
What's it like up there?
That's right. Oh, do you have to open some creaky door and step down into the darkness where it's cold and dark?
Well, I mean, when you're recording music, you don't want all that outside noise, but then you also don't get the wonderful sunlight. So
yes.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know. But then, hey, it's the joys of working at home, right? Well, I'm not at home. I'm in my office here, but so many people get that joy of being able to wake up. In fact, like for myself, just as an example, I woke up at, I think, 4:00 this morning just because I was so excited about the day and my eyes popped open. I'm like, time to get busy. So I went and sat on the couch in my underwear and I was working till 9:30. And then I'm like, oh crap, I got an interview. I got to get to the office and put my laptop on, get the lights on, and here we are. So, anyways, I
know you so well already.
I know. Well, look at you and I feel like it's like we got the same hair, the same beard. It's just yours has a lot less gray than mine. And clearly my eyes have gone bad. So this is what you're going to look.
I got one now. So I'm a little concerned.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Well, I was just saying to you, Nathan, that I appreciate I've been looking at this Reawaken Hymns site. We're going to show the people in a moment, but the work that you have dedicated to yourself, which is right now your full-time thing. So this is not just half an hour at the end of a day. This is like you are dedicating your life to making hymns relevant in our current generation. So if you're interested, those of you who are listening, in what it takes to bring these hymns into like a relevant sound for today, Nathan is dedicating his life, and I can see your guitar there in the background. So you've got probably a wall full of guitars and a keyboard and, production studio, all that kind of stuff. So let's dive in. I think I just want to start by finding out, like, how did the hymns come to capture your life in particular? Like, why didn't you just pick, I don't know, rock music, or, why didn't you just join a band and go and play in clubs, or I don't know, or any other modern, worship genre? Why hymns? What is it?
For sure. Well, I actually did. I mean, I grew up in the church, but I spent all my time not in the sanctuary, and I left pretty soon after that. And so hymns to me weren't really a thing. Like a lot of people grew up with these and they have this nostalgia related to them. I don't have that. So when I became a Christian later in life and then became a worship leader, I didn't really get why these hymns weren't still around, because they were great songs and they had great lyrics, so I started using them in my own service, and just started making modern arrangements so they would fit in, like, without sounding strange between the two different kinds of songs. And I love them because they have just deep theology that, is definitely there in modern worship, but it's you have to look for it a little harder.
Right. Right. For sure. So you just like you fell in love with them, and then what? You started whipping out your guitar and trying to arrange them, or designing a studio, all that. Like, how did you get into a place of starting to really dedicate your life to making arrangements of these songs and crafting them? Was it as you're leading worship in church? You just wanted to bring them in, or how did that go?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly accidentally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was leading worship in a church.
Yeah.
I've led worship around St. Louis at a few churches the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And again, we wanted to bring some of these songs into the service. And so I started looking for versions of them. This was 10 years ago, mind you. And most of the versions that I could find of a lot of the hymns were like the ones with like added choruses and such, or completely rewritten, both of
Yeah.
which I have no problem with and they're great, but that's not
Yeah.
what I was looking for in this particular
Right.
context. So I just started making my own, and then I was like, hey, I bet people could use these things that I'm making. So I put them online,
Yeah.
and then it just grew from there. And now people all over are using them, and it's amazing.
Wow. Tell me about some of the musical complexities that you've come across in doing arrangements, because I know that if you look at a typical hymn book, there's like chord changes going on almost every single note. It's moving, and complex vocal directions. I mean, it was a whole style that comes from a past generation approach to music. So different, they had different instruments, they just had the organ mostly back then, or acoustic. The guitar is even a 20th century invention, I think. I can't remember when the guitar was invented, but it's not been
Yeah,
around that long, at least
it
our
hasn't.
current guitar.
Yeah, I actually have my wife's grandpa gave her his guitar. It's from
Yeah.
1889. It's a
Okay.
Martin.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah. So and it was crazy to think that some of the hymns that I do were written like the same year this guitar was made. So that's great. But yeah, it's fairly new invention.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes on when you're looking at
Hmm.
hymns and try to modernize them. And it's interesting too, because when you look at the different generations of hymns, like just like today's music, like music written in 1950 sounds a lot different than music written today. Like music
Yeah.
written in 1800 sounds a lot different than music written in 1900. So you start to see these different trends in areas, but there's a whole lot of issues that come up trying to modernize them. As you said, one of the biggest is if you look in a hymnal, it's a chord on every single melody note
Yeah. Yeah.
because they were written in this like homorhythmic style. And I think a lot of people kind of try to play all of those chords on guitar, and I would advise against that because
Right.
those chords aren't actually like arrangement musical chords. They're a four-part harmony for vocals. So what
Mm-hmm.
that is, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. The
Mm-hmm.
soprano is the melody line. Each one has a harmony. So when you're looking at a hymnal, remember that those are written specifically for four people singing, not for a person playing guitar, and not even an organ. Like the organist
Right.
doesn't use the hymnal. Well, they might, but they improvise under it if they do. And there's all
Right.
kinds of different chord changes going on. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's one big issue.
For sure. So so you've tried to somehow retain the integrity of these songs, but still kind of modernizing them. So what, I don't know, talk to me about the process, or maybe if there's an example of a song you could talk me through as to the challenges that you faced in trying to bring this song into a modern kind of vernacular. So is there any songs? I mean, I could even take us to your website if you want. We could just look there right now. This is
Let's do
the
it.
reawaken hymns, and you could tell me, let's zone in on a couple of songs, a couple of resources if you have any that you could bring me
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, if you go to that chords button right there, that'll
Yeah.
take you to
Yeah.
like all of the ones I've done.
Hmm.
And I'll have a pop-up, which everybody hates. Sorry about the pop-up.
Yeah.
Uh, so Mighty Fortress is a good example. That's the first one's actually a good example.
Yeah.
So that one had, again, there's every hymn has a different challenge when you open it
Yeah.
up. A Mighty Fortress, interestingly, does not always have a time signature. Like, not the time signature is weird, but in half of the hymnals I looked in, it didn't have a time signature. It was
Right.
basically like, well, there's 2 beats in this one and 4 in that one and 8, and then just make it up. Like that's what the hymnal's telling you to do.
Yeah.
So
Pretty much. Yeah.
which is a little rough in modern worship when you got click tracks and measures and all things to think about. So half of them had 4/4. So I kind of looked at it and I had to choose like a time signature. So I had to go 4/4.
Yeah.
And time signature is something that's often very different. Like today's music, 4/4 is dominant, and then 6/8 in worship. There's a lot of 6/8 songs too.
Yeah.
In a lot of hymns, especially like 1800s onward, 3/4 is probably the most common time
Hmm.
signature you'll come
Mm-hmm.
across. Yeah. And it's interesting because just that time signature change can kind of date a song in your brain because
Right.
you're like 3/4. That sounds like music. That sounds like a waltz. That sounds like music
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Silent Night. There
4/4.
you
That
go.
sounds yeah. Silent Night. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Fascinating. Well, let's
Um,
let's keep looking at some of these songs, and or maybe you can just, if you want to just continue looking at "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God," which is a great example of a song that almost seems impossible. It's like fitting a square into a round hole or something like that, as far as modernizing it without dramatically changing the song, right?
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, another thing, of course, is like we just said, this if you look in the hymnal, it's got chords on every beat. So if you're gonna
Yep.
modernize it, and how I modernize it is, I think one of the biggest things is if you don't know chord functions yet, or if you haven't really gotten to chord functions,
Mm-hmm.
definitely look into those a little more because when you're trying to like just pick out the chords of a song, being able to hear the chord functions is so important,
Mm-hmm.
and so helpful. And if you don't know what I mean by chord functions, um, that's the function of the chord, obviously. So one chord is your root note, like that's where we go
Yep.
back to. That's your home base. A
Yep.
five is your dominant. That always wants to go back to the one chord,
Yep.
and so on and
Yep.
so forth. So each chord has its own thing that it does often in music. And if you can
Yep.
start to hear those, then you can start to pick those out in the songs and you can kind of figure out which chords are necessary and which
Yep.
chords are just there for harmony that you don't necessarily need to use.
Right. Right. Awesome. Maybe we could just look at a few others of these. Is there any others that kind of stand out? You've done arrangements of all of these hymns. Have you recorded all of these, or some of them you've recorded in your own albums, and some of them are arrangements of other songs?
Yeah, so all of the ones on this page I've recorded. So all of these have acoustic versions, and then about 40 of them now have full band kind of versions to them too. If you go to
Wow.
Holy, Holy, Holy,
Yep.
that has some good examples. Um,
Okay. Oops. There we go. I gotta
yeah,
learn my alphabet.
I think I think I've done about 120 now. It's a lot of hymns.
Mm-hmm.
So Holy, Holy, Holy is a good example. It has a modulation in it, which is very popular in a lot of hymns and almost non-existent in modern worship. And the second line of this hymn, you'll see that G D G. So we're in the key of C, and then all of a sudden at the end of the second line, it's like, wait, hold on, we're in G now for a measure or for half of a measure. So
Hmm.
musically, the song it's not actually changing key; it's just modulating for a bit, and it's majoring the second. But it
Yep.
sounds like for half a measure, you're changing from the key of C to the key of G, and that was very, very popular back in
You're
the
talking
kind of
right
early
there, right?
1900s.
This is what we're talking
Right
about.
there.
Yeah,
Yep,
I see.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So it looks like it went from the key of C to a 1-5-1 in the key
Yep.
of G, which it basically did. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was very popular, and it's not doesn't really happen in modern music at all, and makes using ambient pads very difficult. I'll tell you that,
Right.
because
Right.
for that half a measure, you're like it's slightly in the wrong key, but it
Yeah.
works out.
There's a little bit of
So that's
dissonance
one
there.
that yeah. So you can either for this one, it was necessary for the melody, like I talked about the necessary chords. It was necessary for the melody to modulate the chords. It just you couldn't change it or else it would sound strange. But on some of them, I found Beneath the Cross of Jesus is one I could actually take out the musical modulation and I didn't have to change the melody at all.
Yeah.
So that in itself just kind of helped modern it up a bit.
Yeah. Fantastic. Just scanning through the list here. So many great songs. Is there like, let's pick out a hymn that perhaps isn't one of the classics that everybody knows. Like, I wonder if we could find a hymn that you've done that you think, I bet you a lot of people haven't discovered the jewel that is available in this song.
How
Like,
about
go
how
ahead.
about stricken, smitten, and afflicted?
Well, I haven't sung that one. I can't even tell you how that one goes.
There you
Tell
go.
me about this one. Wow.
Yeah, this is one of my
Okay.
new favorites.
Okay.
And it's right on topic for Lent. So
Yeah.
it's a very good hymn for Lent. And it's like a lot of Lent hymns, it's a bit on the minor side,
Mm-hmm.
which I really like. This one I discovered somebody suggested it to me. I'd never heard it before, and of course the name of it sounds a little morbid, so I was a little afraid of it at
Yeah.
first. But it's a fantastic Lent hymn, and it's just so deep with theology, talking about Christ and the cross and like what he did and how he's the son of David from the line of David. It's just a ton of theology in there
Yeah.
that's great. This
Hey,
one was another one that was tricky to do the chords into.
yes. I see that there's a number of people listening in and posting a couple of comments. And if you have some questions that you want to post, I think it would be great if we could just ask Drake questions directly. So thanks, Thomas. I see Thomas in here. He was just mentioning that the Lutherans definitely know Stricken, Smitten, and Afflicted, that song. So that's fantastic. I got to figure out how to get rid of that comment. There we go. So yeah, if you have some questions, please post them. We're talking about hymns here, and it's Ryan Dahl and Nathan Drake, and looking at the site Reawaken Hymns. Now, while we're waiting for a few questions to come in, I think it would be great if we could talk about this free resource that you have. It's going to be offsite from PraiseCharts, but let's take people there. We're in the season of Lent right now, and you're offering a whole collection of songs. Here we go. Is this a brand new recording that you've done, or collection of 5 hymns specifically for this season?
Yep. It's, as you said, it's 5 songs. So it's a 5-song album. It's a 5-day devotional that you can do during Holy Week that goes through each of those 5 hymns. And then if you're a worship leader, it also includes free chord charts as
Right.
well. So those 5 hymns. We just yesterday, Hymns of the Sun, which is my full length album, came out. And these are from that album. So those are all songs about Jesus, obviously hymns of the Sun. So these were kind of the most linty ones, if that's a word,
Yeah.
Linton ones on there. So yeah, you can download those for free. And those are, I just wanted to, I wanted them to be out for Lent so people could use them during Lent. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely I'm noticing in Praise Charts world that the song Man of Sorrows is becoming like quite significant. I think it's the number 1 song in Praise Charts right now. It's a Hillsong version of that, so it would have been like a rewritten kind of take on it. But that song seems to
yeah.
have particular themes of what of Lent. What are the themes in particular that come out in this season of Lent? What kinds of themes are we looking at specifically for the hymns in this season?
Yeah, they generally tend to be a bit more solemn,
Hmm.
and a bit more like penitent than we do a lot of the year. The whole season of Lent is very much kind of focused on the very real, like, suffering of Christ. Like we think about that all through the year in our church services, but in Lent you kind of take the 6 weeks and you kind of really dwell on that for a bit. So a lot of the hymns do tend to be a little darker,
Yeah.
which can be a tricky if you're in a very celebratory church, but they do tend to be darker. A lot of minor keys in Lent, and you'll get a lot of more visceral lyrics, I would say, in the hymns. Like there's one called "He Died for Me," which the first 2 lines, "I saw one hanging on a tree in agony and blood," is
Hmm.
very intense. Those are very intense lines, and honestly, so intense I probably wouldn't use it a lot outside of Lent, but it's a great for Lent when we just spend a little more time on those harder subjects. I like to think of Lent as kind of the dark before the dawn of
Right.
Easter.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you shine a light in a dark room, you're definitely going to see the light a lot clearer. So
Yeah.
and the other thing is that songs for Lent can also be for a personal time of devotion and worship. So in those times, you can find a time in your day uh, um, to kind of listen and perhaps center in on those darker songs that just kind of deal with the reality of what Christ did for us and really kind of come to grips with that. So someone
Yeah.
is asking here. I told you that our audience was interested in music, and Uh, the name is Chronic Flute. I don't know if that's what your actual first name is, but she's asking if these rewrites include orchestrations. Now, I didn't see any of that. I would be just asking, do you have any like written out music for these? Or maybe that's where Praise Charts can come alongside you.
Yes, I on reawakening hymns, I do not have written out ones. Mine are mostly chord charts because it kind of started for the acoustic guitarist. But I
Yeah.
can think of a website where they have lots of orchestrations. What is it called?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, PraiseCharts. That's it. Yeah, yeah.
I just want you to know, if you're listening in, that we don't have all this music yet on Praise Charts, but we are planning on working on that. So Nathan and I are getting to know each other. And I mean, we love hymns for sure at Praise Charts and have many, many arrangements. But there's always room for more, and especially great new arrangements that, reflect the current modern sounds. And I've listened to some of your recordings. They sound truly amazing, well produced, good vocals, not not like cheaply produced at all. So appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's your thoughts about like you have modern hymns, contemporary hymns, hymns with choruses and rewrites and all of that? There's sort of like lots of different approaches to hymn writings. You seem to indicate that you certainly have no opposition to people having more freedoms. Obviously, a lot of the earlier hymns, they're in the public domain, so we have the freedom to be as creative as we want with them. But you seem to be pretty committed to staying true to that like original melody, original lyric, and not cluttering that too much. Is that quite intentional?
Yes, that is very intentional for
Yeah.
reawaken hymns.
Yeah.
It's just again, I don't have a problem with any of the rewritten stuff, and some of it's just amazing. To be honest, I just there's a lot more of that out there than there is of versions of the hymns that are like same melody, same structure, same lyrics, the exact same hymn, but modern sounding. There's a little less of that, and honestly, it's for some reason it's the thing that I really love doing. Like
Yeah.
writing a chorus and stuff is fun, but I love just sitting down with the hymn, looking at it, and thinking like, okay, how could I fit this in my service? And no one have any idea it's a hymn, like
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
changing anything other than the music. How can I do
Yeah.
that? So yeah, Reawaken Hymns definitely sticks with the just keep the
Yeah.
same lyrics, same melody, keep the same structure, just make it a modern sounding song.
Yeah. I have an idea, just as we're interacting with people who are listening in. If you've got a hymn that is like one of your favorites or one that you've been singing or wrestling with or trying to figure out how to arrange, why don't you just put that in the chat, and then we'll just take a couple of moments. We'll just do a little popcorn, take a hymn and talk about it a little bit. So I see one that's coming from Delma. She's just saying that she's just learning the song, "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love of Jesus." Is that one that you have come across in your arranging? Maybe we could just talk about that a little bit and
Yeah.
some of the elements that kind of are a part of some of these hymns. And if you have, while we're talking, if you got some other hymns you want us to talk about, let's have your requests.
This is fun. I like this.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
The deep deep. Yeah, this is good. Oh, the deep deep love. Yes, I've done that one on Reawaken Hymns too. There's an acoustic
Okay.
version on there. That one's tricky. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of very dated sounding intervals, which is weird. It doesn't think you wouldn't think intervals could be
Yeah.
dated, but they do. Like the melody is very kind of jumpy, and it very often tries to like switch from minor to major and back and forth. And like we talked about modulations earlier, that
Yeah.
song loves to modulate. Even when
Yeah.
it doesn't officially modulate, the melody pretends to modulate. So
Yeah.
that one's tricky to modernize, but I really like that one on acoustic guitar. If you slow it down a bit, make it a little more ethereal, kind of slow pick the chords, it slows down that melody so it's not quite as jumpy, and then it can sound very modern. I really like it that way.
Yeah. Because in its original state, it kind of has a bit of a monastic kind of state. I could imagine,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
castle in England, with guys wearing robes. I don't mean to stereotype, but that's just like the sound that it kind of evokes. So, and another one here, D. Sylvester is saying, "My favorite is 'To God Be the Glory.'" I know that is definitely a favorite of mine. And here, just pulling out of some of the darker songs, this feels like one that brings in the light and the energy and the life and the hope. So do you have any thoughts about that hymn?
Yeah, that's a good one, and I love what's the end of the second verse? I can't think of the words right now. I love the second verse of that song though.
Okay. Well, I can
Yeah,
can I find it on your site? Do
yeah,
you have it in
pull
here?
it up. Yeah,
Okay, there
it's
we
on
go.
there.
Like, why struggle for the lyrics? There you go. To God be the glory.
There it is.
So
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And then you're
For
looking
perfect
for,
redemption, the purchase of God. Yes, yes, yes.
okay.
To
Yes.
every believer, the promise of God. Great, great Easter words right there. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. And that song too is speaking of modernization. That one's pretty easy. It's very simple chord structure.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was written, but it's a bit more modern hymn. And
Yes.
once you kind of get closer to the 1900s era,
Mm-hmm.
the chords kind of started to simplify and stuff. So that one can be modernized pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Tell me about what's one of your personal favorites? What's a personal current modern hymn favorite of yours?
Ironically, it's my favorite hymn is one that doesn't actually use the original melody anymore. Usually, is "Before the Throne of God Above."
Okay.
Just amazing, amazing. It is by far my favorite hymn lyrics. And whenever somebody asks me, why hymns, I point them towards those lyrics, and I'm like, because
Huh.
this is like a theology class on Jesus Christ. Like it's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
But the melody that most people know for that song was actually written in like 1997 by I think Sovereign Grace or Vicky
Yes.
Beeching. I don't
Yes.
remember which, but yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But oh,
But
I
but
love
the,
that one.
but the
Fantastic.
lyrics, you're saying the
The
lyrics, the
lyrics,
melody was written in the 1990s, or at least the version that we know, but the lyrics come
right?
from
Yeah,
way back in history.
yeah, yeah,
So
and are amazing.
yep,
Also,
there
the
you
new
go.
melody is amazing too. So
Yeah. Just another question from Natalie is saying, do your arrangements fit well with keyboard led worship? Because we've been talking about guitars a lot. So what about keyboard led worship?
yeah. Again, mine were written with guitar in mind.
Yeah.
If you go on my site, you'll see two versions. There's a full band and an acoustic. They have different chords. The acoustic one obviously is more geared toward actually playing it on acoustic guitar, but the full band one is
Am I looking at
if you
that right
listen to
now? Where does it say the
yeah,
two
you're looking at
versions?
that right now. So right there's the full band. Then if you scroll down, there's another version that's
Look at
acoustic. Yep.
that. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
even notice
Yeah.
that. So thank you.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Awesome.
So if you look at any of the full band ones, I played keyboard in those, so you hear that.
Yeah.
Again, mine are just chord charts. If you need charts, then PraiseCharts is probably the best bet for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got one more request coming in here. I don't even know if you know this song. I don't even know this. Loving Dear Refuge of My Weary Soul. But that's Matt Merker, who is more of a modern songwriter. He works a lot with Keith Getty. But that's a great recommendation. Thanks, Thomas, for recommending that. So much
Yeah.
great material to go through. So I definitely want to recommend anybody who is listening here, if you want a great resource for modern hymns, it's called reawakenhymns.com, and won't be long and you'll be seeing this in PraiseCharts, represented in PraiseCharts as well. And I think the chances are very good that we would watch some of these arrangements, and if they take off, then we would love to write some like sheet music and maybe even some piano arrangements to come alongside these. So you can be watching for that to come. Just as we're looking at your site a little bit before we let you go, I see you've got a new album here. There's a couple of albums in particular, this whole Trinity Project. Why don't you close us out by telling us a little about that project that you've got going?
Yeah, so Trinity Project is unsurprisingly a 3-part series.
Hmm.
I'm sure you can guess what the 3 parts of the Trinity Project are: Hymns of the Father, Hymns of the Son, and Hymns of the Spirit. Hymns of the Father came out in September. Hymns of the Son, as you see right there, just came out yesterday.
Oh,
And
wow.
these,
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, thank you. Just yesterday. I am exhausted. Album
Mm-hmm.
releases are a lot of work. So that just came out yesterday, and the Trinity Project is we're going through 60 hymns. Most of them are probably the most popular hymns out there just by coincidence, but 60 hymns, 20 hymns per set, Father, Spirit, Son. And there's a album by me that is like these full band modern worship arrangements. I create them specifically so that they'll sit right next to like a Hillsong song or a Chris Tomlin song or a whatever song in the worship service without any sort of, you know, hearing a difference. And then each of those also includes a 1 month devotional that has the history and a devotion that goes with each hymn. And then of course there's also like multi-tracks and lyric videos and all the worship resources that go with it.
Wow. What do you do with all your spare time, man? That is a lot of producing, a lot of writing. For very good.
Spare time. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Yeah, but you know what? When you're working within your gifting and your passion and you wake up excited about it, I mean, there's nothing like it, right? So there you are in the basement dungeon of your home, but you're making great music and it's impacting the world. And I think it's great. Yeah. I really hope that we can see more of each other and find ways to work together and grow the exposure of this music. I love what you're doing, and just encourage all of you who are listening, go to Reawaken Hymns. We've got the links in the notes for this. They're also in the chat, links to all the things that we've been talking about and some great free resources, and I encourage you to check it out. So thank you very much, Nathan. God bless you, and I encourage you as you continue this journey of writing great arrangements. So that's Nathan Drake and reawakenhymns.com.